Hello everyone, my name is Mariam and apologies again that I haven't uploaded in a while. I wanted to try and be more consistent and I was doing so well in September, and then October came, November came, I uploaded like once or twice. And now it's December, like it's mid-December and I've just like filmed this. I don't even know when this is gonna go up, but I'm gonna try and do it by at least Saturday that's coming. Don't know what day it is, but the Saturday that's coming I want to try and upload it. Yeah, I hope you're all taking care of yourselves in this really cold weather. To be fair, we've just had cold weather for like the whole year. Like, it's not actually been summer, but you know, we move. In this video I wanted to talk more about visual impairment. So for those who don't know, I'm visually impaired, so in this video I wanted to talk more about what that is, what that means. I wanted to also talk about some misconceptions. So in this video I wanted to just talk about like what is visual impairment. I wanted to talk about different conditions. I wanted to talk about some misconceptions people have. I also wanted to talk about like media rep. Before I start, I just wanted to say that I am not an expert, and while I have been visually impaired since I was a baby, there are certain things that I'm still learning. While I can also talk about my own experiences, I have taken some research from RNIB, which is the Royal National Institute for Blind People. They support those who are dealing with sight loss. So I've gotten that information from that website as well as some other sources. So if I look this way, it's just because my laptop's there and I want to be as accurate as possible. I'm going to try and not do it as much, especially considering this is my first video that I'm doing this kind of format. So I might look at my computer a lot. So I'm going to try and reduce it as much as I can. Another disclaimer, there's some things that I might miss or might not talk about. So if you're interested in something that I might have not spoken about, or I've spoken about in like really little detail, comment below. I'd definitely love to like explore that more. If there's something that you wanted to talk about, maybe it's to do with your own disability, your own sight loss, I would definitely love to hear it in the comments below. So what is visual impairment? Before I answer that, it's important to look at the two interpretations of the term disability, which are the social model and the medical model, which RNIB talks about. RNIB talks about the medical model of disability. They say that it is the traditional view, being that disability is caused by a physical, mental, or sensory impairment. By using the medical model of disability, it could be argued that the sight loss affects the person's ability to see and therefore disables them. This results in services and equipment being offered to help the person with the disability live independently. This includes stuff like walking aids or guide dogs. It's different from the social model of disability. The second interpretation of disability relates to the social model. This definition centers the barriers put by other people that causes the disability and not the impairment itself. For example, being ignored, pitied, or patronized, which are very common experiences that people with visual impairment / sightless, or even a lot of other disabilities face. RNIB states that these attitudes create barriers to independence for blind people and causes barriers in the creation of an inclusive society. These barriers can come in the form of timetables not being readable, and so it's difficult for people with sight loss to plan their own journey. So I know for me that is the case, because in the train maps itself, there's more to read, so I can't see that. So if I can't rely on that to plan my journey. RNIB states that both models are important to help society make sense of disability, as disability is a combination of both medical and social factors. For example, someone who's dealing with sight loss, they might need emotional support, but they also might need transport systems that are accessible. So in terms of the medical definition of visual impairment, WHO, which is the World Health Organization, describes visual impairment as when an eye condition affects the visual system and its visual functions. This is why it's important to know that not all people who have sight loss are affected the same way. In this video, you may have heard me use a lot of language like sight impaired, visually impaired, partially impaired, severely sight impaired. Well, some of these are medical terms, while others are just terms that people use to describe themselves. RNIB itself, they just use the universal term as sight loss. So like all of those vision impaired, sight impaired, blind, they would all come under sight loss. Just for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to continue saying sight loss. Severely sight impaired and sight impaired are more medical terms that are used for administrative certification, and not necessarily like terms used in like everyday language. There are different conditions. For example, congenital, I hope I said that right, that is when you're born with a sight condition, so you may never have had full sight, or as you grow older you might experience gradual sight loss. Other people might develop it as they get older, or due to an accident or damage in their vision. Some people with sight loss may have no useful vision, but a majority might have some useful vision. It is important to know then that while some people have sight loss, they might have light perception. Some people with sight loss, they might have peripheral vision, but may not have central vision, or vice versa. So when we talk about peripheral vision, is how much you can see this side, up and down, without moving your head, and central vision is just like everything that's right in front of you. There's so many things though that I've learnt during this research. So for example, I never knew myopia was nearsightedness. Like I heard the medical term myopia, and I've heard of short-sightedness or nearsightedness, but I didn't know they were the same thing. When we're talking about short-sightedness or nearsightedness or myopia, it's just that the fact that you can't see stuff from far away clearly, which can just be corrected by contacts or glasses. This is why objects closer to you seem clearer, and then objects further away seem blurry. You may have short-sightedness or myopia or nearsightedness. There's a lot more eye conditions, but I feel like it's just going to be a lot for this video. So if you want me to get into it, I don't mind, but you can also do your research. In terms of just other eye conditions, you have age-related macular degeneration, you have cataract, and you have glaucoma. Let's get into some misconceptions. Like I said multiple times in this video, a lot of people with sight loss are affected in different ways. What might be happening to one person might not be happening to another person. One misconception was that people believe that all blind people have no useful vision, which is not the case, and many blind people have like light perception, meaning that they can distinguish light from dark. And again, sight loss affects people in different ways. So two people might have the same eye condition, but it might affect them differently. It depends on maybe if one of those people have other health conditions that might be contributing to how they navigate the world. Like Molly Burke on YouTube, she said that blindness is a spectrum. Like a lot of disabilities, I guess, it's a spectrum. Something might be helpful for one person but not for another, and then some people might be affected by sight loss in different ways. Another common misconception, and it's that like blindness only occurs to people who are older, which isn't the case. A lot of people are born blind. A lot of people develop it as they get older, from young age. Some people get into accidents. Some people have other health conditions that might affect their sight. Sight loss isn't an age-related condition. This is another one that RNIB said, and it's like some people are very careful with what they say. So for example, if they're around a blind person or someone with sight loss, they might feel guilty for saying, oh, I watched the movie yesterday, or oh, I saw you the other day. And they shouldn't be. Those are just, it's common language you use. You shouldn't be afraid to say, oh, I watched the movie yesterday, or I saw you last night. You shouldn't be like hesitant to use that language. Yeah, you shouldn't feel discouraged or uncomfortable to use that language. Also, this is important, and this is, to be fair, is universal. You can ask people about their sight loss in context. You don't randomly just go up to someone and go, oh my, what's your house number? What's your door number? You don't randomly do that. Same with like sight loss, you wouldn't just randomly ask them. But like if it comes with conversation, maybe they've talked about how they need this aid, maybe that's how you can talk about it. If they've maybe brought it up themselves, you can talk about it. If you're curious about, I don't know, if they need help, ask them, of course. Be mindful of what you're asking. So next is media rep. My first point of call was TV tropes. They don't have a lot. I thought they would have a lot more TV tropes, considering like your whole website is based on TV tropes. To be fair, they kind of do, but a lot of them are superhero based, and there's some things that I've never heard about or never knew. So there are things that I just remembered that I'm going to talk about. Not all of these are on TV tropes. Some of it is just something that I remember. That's another issue. There's some characters that have sight loss that are not on the page characters with sight loss. And I was just thinking, why? But like I said, there are a lot of that I was very unfamiliar with. I feel like there was a lot more that I just remember from my childhood that weren't on there. Or maybe I'm just thinking about like one episode things or one character that like they're a character for like 1 second and they leave. Maybe that's the issue, but there wasn't a lot of that I remember. There's a lot that I remember that were like one-off characters. So maybe that again they had cataract surgery. They have an eye patch for one episode. Those were just like one-off episodes. So I'm not necessarily going to talk about those. I did look at other websites. For example, there was this show called Becca, which has Michael from The Good Place. And when I realised him, I looked at him and I was like, you look so familiar. And then I was like looking at the cast list and then I saw him and I was like, oh wow, he's from The Good Place. With Becca, you can watch the episodes on YouTube. It's actually alright. Like it's very like its time. I think it was 2000 it must have been like 2010 before 2010 or after 2010, around that time. It's like it gives you like How I Met Your Mother times, that kind of time period. Think about that. In Becca you have Jake. He's the best friend of Michael's character. Got his name, okay, I think it's Becca. Don't quote me, but yeah, he works at the newsstand at the diner where they frequently go to all the time. He uses a walking aid. He doesn't use it around the diner, but when he leaves, he usually takes it and then he walks out with it. He developed sight loss from being in a car accident. So with Jake, he's completely blind. He lost his sight in the car accident. They sometimes they joke about it. They kind of joked about it in the first episode. I don't think they joked about it a lot, or like it was on the same level as just joking about the other characters there. I don't think it was bad. It wasn't really like nothing seemed over exaggerated. Nothing seemed. I don't know about everyone else's opinion. I don't think it was terrible, but like they didn't really. I mean, I didn't watch a lot, so I can't really say a lot. But they didn't really, from what I remember, they don't really talk about it in much detail. What he could see, what he can't see, kind of thing. But I would say that a lot of the conversations or jokes are at his eyesight, just only on his eyesight. And I get it. It was during that period where they're like, oh, we can make fun of everyone. It's not that deep, you know that period of time when it's like everyone can get made fun of. It doesn't matter. It's like I wish they did more. Like it's not just he's blind. Okay, what else? What is he like? What is his ambitions? Like they only made jokes about that, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it that you want to push the boundaries, you want to show that anyone can be made fun of, but it's like, what else about his personality? There's nothing else really about his personality. But like I said, I only watched like a few clips and a few parts of episodes. But yeah, like I said, I think this show was made around a time where they were trying to tell audience like we shouldn't be tiptoeing around a certain group. Like everyone can be made fun of. It doesn't really matter your race, religion. But I did read from the wiki that the show itself tackles topics like schizophrenia. I think I said that right. I can't say that word. Schizophrenia. Okay. Race and political correctness. I would also say that Jake isn't blind in real life. The actor he's not blind. Okay, like I'm not gonna like deduct points or say it's a bad show but I do like how his performance isn't over the top. TV tropes did mention Pozzo from Waiting for Godot, which I studied in sixth form, which gave me war flashbacks. This is interesting. The idea where it's like if you lose one sense, the other one's heightened. I didn't know it was from Daredevil. It comes from Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. I didn't know this. It's not true though. Just because one sense is gone doesn't mean the others are heightened. Just because someone has sight loss doesn't mean they can now hear stuff from a million miles away or they can smell stuff from the other side of the world. Like, no. Fantasia, who's another YouTuber, did talk about Daredevil, and she said that how she is blind, but she's practiced hearing stuff more and listening. So that sense is more practiced than it is compared to other people, because like other people, they rely on all their senses. They don't need to practice the hearing as much as they can see, because if they have the sight, they don't necessarily need to focus on what they're hearing, which I think is which is interesting too. So as she's practiced that sense, she's able to maybe hear to a better standard. Not saying that she can hear stuff from a million miles away. I think that's kind of similar, like, you know someone's footsteps, you know, like if your mum or your dad or your sister or your brother walk through the door, you know it's them by the footsteps. But yeah, going back to Matt Murdock, Daredevil, he's blinded by radioactive substance and now can't see. But his exposure to the radioactive material heightens his other senses beyond normal human ability. And we also have Toph Beifong. She's so cool. I love her. She's just so cool, honestly. If you haven't watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, watch it. It's such a good show. But Toph Beifong, she's very powerful. She ends up inventing whole new bending style, and like in the show as well, she uses earthbending as an extension of her senses. She's also just very funny. Like, they're all like really funny, to be fair. Everyone in Avatar is just very funny, but she has such a dry humor. It's so funny. And I like how in the show her blindness isn't played for laughs. They're not seeing her as weak. They're not seeing that she can't do stuff. Sometimes they forget, and she tells them, like, she doesn't tell them off, but she's just like, she uses it as like, she kind of just tells them off, but in a funny way. Like, for example, they're like really tired and they're trying to find something in the desert. They're on top of this bison, which is just like, they're flying. They're just like really tired and exhausted. And then she randomly just goes, look, it's over there. And they all look her way. And then she's like, that's what it would sound like when we find it. And it's a really funny show. This is a 90s show. It's called USA High. It's really good. If you want to watch it. There's 2 seasons. We have a character called Catherine Harley, who is blind and she has a walking stick. She ends up dating one of the main characters, which is Jackson. Jackson doesn't realise she's blind until like a bit into the day, and so he becomes quite hesitant, and she realises this. She leaves him, and then Jackson kind of goes through that kind of, oh, baby, like, it doesn't matter that she's blind, I really like her, I'm gonna ask her out. And so they kind of continue that. I really liked her character. She's very nice, she's sweet. What I noticed is that a lot of 90s shows, when they have characters like that, it's usually a special episode, and they kind of did do a special episode with her because she only really appeared in like 2 episodes. I feel like a lot of shows, they use these characters for special episodes. I feel like this episode kind of was like it, but I guess it also felt quite different because at least she appeared in one more episode, and at least she was Jackson, who was one of the main characters' short-term girlfriend. I want to note that the actress that plays her isn't blind in real life. But yeah, I really liked her. She was a really good character. But yeah, I really wish she was in so much more episodes because she was actually very fun. She had like much more to her than just that, her blindness, which I think is different because when a lot of shows have special episodes, there isn't a lot more to the character other than that. The reason why they're in the episode. There is also Jenna from Pretty Little Liars. I watched it. It's weird. I watched it when I was younger and I don't remember anything about that show. And seeing clips, it doesn't look bad. I don't know if it's because I saw good clips. I don't know. I was looking on Reddit too. Those Reddits and Tumblr, there wasn't a lot. I think people were mixed. Some people were just talking more about how the character was seen as more as a villain than she actually was. I do remember her having the glasses, and just to note, not every blind person or someone with sight loss has glasses or needs the glasses. Going to anime, because I love anime, we have Kimoji and Fujitora. So Kimoji from Hunter x Hunter and then Fujitora from One Piece. I love both these. I love these characters. Kimoji. When I think about Kimoji, it just makes me cry. Not that like, it's just a sad story. If you watch it. Yeah, Kimoji and Fujitora, which I think were good. They were great characters as well. I just wanted to add them as well because I watch anime, so I wanted to talk about them too. Those 2 are great characters. I think Kimoji was born blind, but Fujitora, I don't want to spoil it. Oh, spoiler. Injured himself basically. Fujitora is very highly ranked in his position. He's a part of like the Marines, which is like the police, I guess. But he's like very highly ranked. Kimoji, she is a champion in a game that she plays, and I forgot what it's called. They were both basically quite powerful characters. So going back to good RNIV, some tips just to, like, if you're having a conversation with a blind person, just let them know that you're leaving the room or you left the room. It is good to gently tap a blind person or say their name to get their attention or to let them know that you're talking to them. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you would like more videos like this, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you want me to talk about something else. Let me know if you've enjoyed it. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Bye.